If there's one thing I'm good at, it's how to mess up a good aviation YouTube video. You guys come check out the mistakes I've made, some of the equipment I've used, what I'm using now, and hopefully we can make your aviation YouTube videos better. Y'all come check it out. Hello fellow aviators, Matt Farrell, the Flying Salesman, coming to you from inside the hangar today. The airplane's getting its annual done. We've got Sun and Fun just a week or so away. I wanted to give you guys a few tips and tricks that I've figured out along the way on how to make aviation YouTube videos. I know some of you have reached out to me, you've asked me about some of the equipment I've used, how I go about getting started, and hopefully you guys will get in the cockpit and start making your own YouTube videos. First and foremost, we have to talk about safety when it comes to making aviation YouTube videos. All this equipment that you can have in the cockpit is an opportunity for a distraction, and you don't want to allow that distraction to have a negative impact on your flight. So first and foremost, that number one rule in aviation, fly the airplane first. Don't worry about any of this other nonsense. Some of the tips that I'm going to give you is how to set up the airplane so you can set it and forget it when it comes to setting up your cockpit. I want to start out talking a little bit about audio first. That's been the biggest pain that I've had. You guys have been fantastic sticking with me through all of my audio problems, and that is one of the things that I underestimated when I started this process. I thought you could just plug in a recorder into the aircraft system, get good clean audio out, sync it with a video, and be able to go and you're off and running into your processing, and that's simply not the case. There's a lot of things that go into capturing good audio in the cockpit, and you need to pay attention to each and every one of them if you want to be successful at this game. First and foremost, record as much audio in as many places as you can. I record on 2 GoPro cameras, and I also record audio on a backup Sony recorder. I'm actually using it right now. It's the one I have in my pocket, and I'll put a link to the description of all this equipment that I'm using today, not the stuff that I've used in the past and didn't like, but I'll leave a link to all this stuff below, and you can see what I use and make a decision for yourself. But having that audio in multiple places makes it easier to sync your videos, makes it easier to combine different projects that you're working together. So I can't stress that enough, to be sure to have as much audio captured as you possibly can. To capture that audio in the cockpit, you're going to have some interface cables to capture that from the avionics and into your recording devices. Hobbsflyer.com is a great place to pick up your interface cables. Sean Huggins is the owner of that company. I met him at Sun and Fun a little over a year ago. He and I started talking about the projects that I was working on, and he said that he had the solution for me, and boy was he right. I was using an inexpensive interface cable that I found on an internet website, and I just wasn't happy with it. It actually caused me to lose some audio and miss some critical points of flight, miss some critical points that I was trying to make in the flight, and when I switched to the Hobbs-Flyer cables, I haven't had any more trouble. Sean was nice enough to go so far as to even create an interface cable for me that's just specific to the one camera in the back of the aircraft, and that came in really handy with a little bit of cord management, so we're going to have to talk about that as well. But you need a good quality interface cable. When it comes to getting good clean audio, especially in a setting like this when you're outside the airplane, pick up a lavalier mic. This is the one that came with the Sony recorder, and it does a great job of filtering out a lot of the noises, trade show noises, and that sort of thing. I'm sure you're going to pick up some of the echo that I have here in the hangar just because of the nature of the beast, but it does a great job to cut down a lot of the extemporaneous noise that you can get when you're trying to create good, clean audio. These cameras do a fantastic job of picking up audio, but we need that to be filtered down a little bit, and that's where a lavalier mic is really going to help you out. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need a power cable to interface with your cameras so that they keep running at all times. It's really important to point out that when you mount these cameras, you want a nice secure mount. You don't want them floating around in a cockpit. I use GoPro cameras, so all my cameras have the GoPro mount, and I've stepped up and I use the small rig cages. And the reason why I do that is because it allows me to adapt that small rig cage right to the microphone adapter that I insist you get to help get good clean audio. Is get that microphone adapter, plug it into the side of the GoPro, and this creates a nice clean package and allows you to mount your audio recording and your power in one place. So you run an audio cable to it, you run a power cable to it, you pick up one of these Anchor power supplies, and then you're able to run both cameras for the duration of the flight. You don't want to be changing batteries. Back to that safety aspect of it. You'd prefer not to be turning cameras on and off and that sort of thing. You really want to set it and forget it, and that's where having the power cable, the audio cables, and a power supply can really help you out. For the position behind me, what I call my number 3 camera, that camera I use a really cool product from My Pilot Pro. It's a company here in the United States out of Idaho. It's a fantastic mount. It utilizes a little puck that accepts a RAM mount. And again, with the GoPro and the microphone adapter and the audio cable and the power cable, it makes for a really great clean install into the cockpit of the airplane. My Pilot Pro also makes mounts for exterior of the aircraft, and they also have a suction cup mount. So if one of those mounts fits your needs, you need to look at their website, mypilotpro.com, and check out the various mounts they have. I'm sure they're going to have something that's going to work for you and your airplane and how you want to customize your setup. One of the things you see here on the table that the GoPros are known for, and especially we're getting into that time of season, is the GoPros like to overheat. So you need to take that in consideration about where you mount them, if you have a high wing, a low wing. I have one of these DeWalt fans that's battery powered that in the summertime I put in the back seat. Not only does it help keep me cooler, but it helps keeps these cameras cooler as well. I have the Aeromock vent system. You guys hear me talk about the Aeromock Wilco vents all the time. I do direct those at the camera for additional airflow, but that's something you need to be aware of, that if you're flying in the middle of the afternoon trying to capture one of these videos, that you're going to have some overheating problems. So try to make your flights early in the morning, late in the evening. Capture those flights at a time when it's going to be a little more conducive for your equipment. The other piece of equipment that I use is I use an iPhone. And the iPhone mount that I use, I wish I could give you a link to this one, but this is one that I've cobbled together. This is from a Garmin GPS unit that's handheld. And then this unit here is just a simple iPhone clamp mount that I clamp to my phone, and I can throw it up on the dash, record the portion of the flight that I want to record, and then I can pull it off the dash and put it in the seat next to me. I'm really fortunate being as tall as I am. I look over the dash, so I really don't have any obstruction problems, but that's another safety aspect that you want to look into. If you set something on your glare shield and it obstructs your view outside the airplane, you need to reconsider the mount of that camera or what you're putting on the glare shield for a safety reason. That's my big reason why I don't have a camera forward, or correction, in front of me looking back at me, is I don't want my view obstructed at all. So this is great. I can put it up there and I can pull it down and get it out of the way. But like I said, this is something that I put together for myself. In addition to that, if you're going to record on an iPhone, you have to pick up one of these ND filters. These are fantastic. You just clip it over the lens of your iPhone and dial in the amount of filter that you need so you can filter out the prop blur that you see. The GoPros do a really great job, especially the one in the number 2 position. I don't get a lot of bad prop blur, but having the ND filter on the front really does create a more clear image and gives you that really cool shot right out the nose when we're coming into land. So that's something else I recommend you get. As you get into this game and you start making videos, you're going to find yourself in situations where you're going to film outside the cockpit. That's where this flexible clamp has come into play. You see it's got the GoPro mount on it. Again, I can put my microphone adapter on it, I can put an external microphone, and I can clamp this just about anywhere I want to go. I use this at trade shows a lot of times, and I'll clamp it up and just record a period of time at the trade show of people coming and going from the booth, and it's a really great way to do an impromptu film session when you have a tool like this. The cameras I used to use, I told you I'd give you some tips. These are Acaso cameras. They're nice little cameras. They film great. They do film in 4K, but the problem with these is the only audio they have is through a speaker. So once you crank up the airplane and you're piping that loud noise in the cockpit, you don't get to pipe in straight audio from your avionics into them. And so these are really hard to edit with and get your audio and your video to sync up. Invest in a good camera and make sure you can avoid some of these problems down the road. The last thing I want to touch on is get a good case. I found this case on Amazon. It's really fantastic. I'm going to put a link to it down below. It can hold as many as 4 GoPros, but I only put 2 in it because I put all of my accessories in it. I also have these little Acaso cameras in there for throwing up, putting in places, and capturing 4K video in different places. So it's fantastic for that. It carries all my batteries. It carries all the cables that I need, and it also keeps track of my power supply and my clamp. So you really can get a lot of stuff in this little box in a nice clean package that makes moving in and out of the airplane very, very simplistic. When you start getting into bigger cameras like the mirrorless cameras we have for improving your shots and creating that cinematic value, the cases get bigger, your accessories get bigger, and there's just more and more of it. So these cases are really a great case for GoPros and really fit the bill very nicely for a nice, clean, compact package. The last point that we're going to cover, we're going to talk about editing software. I use software called Lightworks. I started with it because it was touted to be very good for beginners and easy to learn, and I would say that's true. I'm very satisfied with that. It helped someone who had no editing experience whatsoever to jump right in and be able to start making videos. If you have someone that has a more mainstream, more readily used editing software, I would highly encourage you to get with them and use what they use. That way you can share tips and tricks back and forth and hopefully help you with your editing. I don't know anybody that uses Lightworks. They do have some great online resources to help you edit, to help you learn how to do things, but unfortunately, I don't know anyone personally. Most people in my circle that I know, they're using Adobe Premiere Pro, and had I taken the time to learn that software up front, I would be better served right now. And hey, how do you do this? How can I do this? Work around with this and be able to create this effect and learn different aspects of it. I'm to the point now where I create so fast in Lightworks that it's hard for me to pick up Premiere Pro. I've tried it, I've sat down with it, and the 30-40 minutes I get into trying to figure out one simple thing that I already know how to do in Lightworks, it just gets frustrating to me and I go back to Lightworks. So start with a mainstream editing software, even if the learning curve's a little bit steeper, because once you get 100 videos in, like we are here on the Flying Salesman, you want to edit fast and you're moving on to the next project. It's really hard to carve out the time to be able to find a new software and learn something new. It bears mentioning that everything you see here are things that I've paid for, even though I've made these contacts in the industry with Sean at Hobbs Flyer and Marshall at My Pilot Pro. These are guys that I met in the industry. Remember, I go to these shows on a regular basis. I'm doing 21 trade shows a year, Sun and Fun, Oshkosh, so I have a great opportunity to meet and discuss this with many, many different people, many different vendors, and a variety of options. So everything you see here I've paid for by myself, or I've paid for myself, and there's nothing here that I'm being sponsored for any of these videos. These shout outs that I'm giving, Sean and Marshall, they're buddies of mine, and I wish them the best in their businesses, and this stuff has worked for me, and I'm pretty sure it can work for you too, so I want y'all to try it out. So to sum it all up, get good clean audio, don't skimp on that, do your best you can on audio. Make sure that your airplane is tuned up and set to go for audio. You guys know I deal with some alternator problems in the 210 in the past, so that's another aspect, is your airplane has to be tuned up and ready to go. Get good mounts. Make sure everything's secured in the cockpit of the airplane. Check out My Pilot Pro for their mounts. Check out Hobbs Flyer for their cables and their headsets so that you can capture that good clean audio, and keep it safe when you're out there flying. Set these cameras up, turn them on, let them record, have a lot of fun, and don't be messing around with them. Enjoy the flight you're on and make a lot of memories when you do this. I appreciate you guys coming along. I hope you found this helpful. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.